Har ni det bra? Ja! Det är härligt att höra. Sen det är så fin fjäril nu när man ska gå in. Och jag har fått sådana order att jag får inte gå in när fjärilen är borta. Jag får inte heller gå in när fjärilen är där. Så ni kommer se mig jobba lite grann med fjärilsrytmen under den här övningen. Härligt att vi får närma oss de här 2 spännande passen i eftermiddag. Jag vet inte om det är någon som vet om det, men vi streamade ju inledningspasset. Och det är alltid häftigt, va? För man känner själv, man står här och snackar, så tänker man, det är väl ingen som hör det här. Men jag kan meddela att en 49-årig kille från Örebro som var båtbefäl, han har ringt in och berättat en helt annan version på den historien. Så att det har ju sina sidor när man streamar, som sagt. För övrigt så tycker jag Peter Falk, det var första gången tror jag som han stod på Keynote-scenen. Jag tyckte han gjorde fantastiskt bra. Och jag har hört flera som har reflekterat över det. Ni kan känna till det att Peter kommer vara runt på höstens IT-arena och köra Keynote. Och jag vet om att det innebär ju sannolikt att vi är i er hemstad. Så att det kan vara bra om ni vill ha kollegor som vill ta del av detta. Men vänner. Ni vet ju om att HP har ju varit vår eventpartner sedan vi började det här äventyret för 11 år sedan. Och det tycker vi är väldigt trevligt. Nästa talare är en väldigt speciell talare. Jag tycker att HP genom åren har lyckats leverera väldigt många bra talare. Brukar få väldigt höga betyg. Men jag tycker att i år så har man faktiskt slagit knut på sig själva. Därför den talaren som vi har i år fick utmärkelse 2016 som Woman of the Year i technology, alltså i hela branschen i USA. Och det är faktiskt helt fantastiskt. Också fått Multicultural Leadership Award och blivit utsedd som Top Influential Woman in Corporate America. Det är skithäftigt. Mina vänner, det är min stora glädje att få säga välkommen till HP's Chief Diversity Officer Lesley Slaton Brown.
That's great. Whoa! Wow! Sweden, thank you. I have to tell you, I was sitting there, I was being introduced in Swedish, and I'm going, what the heck is he saying? It sounds like blah, 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 Woman of the Year, blah, 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 multicultural, Lesley Slaton Brown, and you got, oh my goodness, this is great. I have to tell you something. Something you're going to know about me is I'm very, very transparent. And so I'm going to share this with you, and I don't share this often. When I was at university, I played women's basketball. And so that greeting is great because it just gave me energy, which is awesome. But what's more interesting than that, I sat there and I thought, I have never stood and spoken to 800 white men in my life. So that greeting was great for that reason. But the second thing is it's a boot camp. So most of you, and if any of you are athletes and you know about boot camps, athletic boot camps, this is a breeze for me. I'm not having to do any squats, no jumping jacks, none of that stuff. So on with the show. Thank you so much for that welcome. I appreciate it. Here we go. All right. We're going to talk about diversity impacting performance in the workplace. I bring you greetings from the Silicon Valley. Everybody know where the Silicon Valley is? Yes. And isn't it beautiful? This is the Golden Gate Bridge. It's so beautiful to see the cityscape. But the interesting thing about the Silicon Valley is I'm actually from this valley. This is Yosemite National Park. This is literally my backyard. So I grew up in Central California in a small town called Merced. Cattle, grapes, and almonds are the California, this area, this region produces the largest number of exported milk and grapes and for wine and for almonds. And so it's funny because I work in the Silicon Valley. It's all about tech. It's all about the self-driving cars, the IR, all the robotics and all that stuff. But the reality is I am not a city girl. I am a country girl. I like the water. I see you guys close the shades earlier. I was sitting over there looking down. I was just like entranced with the beauty. But the interesting thing about growing up in this area and being a woman of color is a couple of things. You grow up with everything around you. Every color, every shape, every size, every religion, every person with LGBTQ, people with disabilities, you name it, it was in my class. And if it wasn't in my class, my grandmother, who was an educator, took us to her classes where she taught so that we could be exposed to differences, so that we could, even different learning styles. So what we're going to talk about today is, why the heck are we even talking about diversity? Why is it that diversity is such a hot topic, not only in the U.S., but globally? And why is it that we have so few women, so few minorities, underrepresented groups in the tech industry, and what we're doing about that as a company? And so the headlines every single day is, why is Silicon Valley so awful to women? And you know, the push around diversity and how it's discriminatory. And the Me Too movement is huge. And the interesting thing about the Me Too movement is, it wasn't until Hollywood said that it was important that it became kind of the spotlight or the highlight. The reality is the Me Too movement, the founder, that's a picture of me with the founder, and this was just a few months ago. Tarana Burke, for 10 years, has been talking about Me Too and the discrimination that women face in particular, and the sexual harassment and all of those different things. But somehow it's taken time to get traction, and it took Hollywood to say that it's now important. And so when I shared with our CEO, you know, what I'm doing and where I'm going, and he was like, wow, that's pretty cool. This is our CEO's statement about diversity, that it really is that HP creates technology for everyone everywhere and is making diversity and inclusion a vital part of who we are. And with that, when we look at, and we got to get to just the basic of what diversity is. So we're just going to scratch the surface here, if you'll allow me to do that. Around diversity, we look at it as who we are. It's who we are as an individual, who we are as a woman with gray hair, as men, as fathers, as mothers, as a person with a disability. There's all these aspects of who we are and we bring with us. Some of them are differences and some of them are similarities, but they're all good. And the other piece of it is around inclusion. We look at inclusion as how we work. So that's about belonging. That's about collaboration. That's about team. It's about all of those things that allow us to win. And the one of the many things I learned as an athlete, as a college athlete, is you never approach something and say, geez, I would really like to lose today. So we're all about the mindset of winning. And with HP, it is where we're number one or number two in every single business that we're in, every product category that we're in. We strive to be number one in every single category around diversity as well. So we do a lot of tracking and measuring. When I talk about the mixes and the similarities, the differences that we bring to the workforce, as well as how we work together and respecting and listening to one another. Helping and becoming an ally for those that say nothing, that sometimes want to have their voice heard at the table. And so this talk is going to be about how we bring all of that together and really the richness of what this brings. So the role of diversity and inclusion as we see it, and the role that I play, is around creating a culture of equity, not equality, but equity and belonging. Why equity? When you look at equality, and I love this picture, stole it from the internet. Equality is about if you give everybody the same and equal amount of something, you can see that you still don't achieve what you're looking for. You're still giving people a lift up or an edge up on others. And by the way, this is earned, not unearned. So let's just kind of level that there. Equity is about looking at the differences and meeting the needs and bringing to the table what that individual or those groups of individuals need in order to achieve success that we're looking for. And success in our case is, it's not only about the value of diversity, it's also about business impact that we're striving for. Our purpose and our vision is around creating technology that makes life better for everyone, everywhere. Just as you look at and you think about your customer, we have to look at, and listen to the needs of the customer to be able to develop and to innovate like we need to in order to meet that need, to develop those products, to innovate at the best of our ability for everyone, everywhere. And then lastly, not lastly, but our mission around engineering experiences that amaze. We want to amaze. We want to delight our customers. We want to amaze and delight our partners. We want to be that company that listens to and hears the needs of people so that we can delight. And then our brand promise is around keep reinventing, keep pushing ourselves and striving for greater, better, more, newer. And with that, we are now reinventing what we call the standard for diversity. So what does reinventing the standard for diversity mean? It's about not only looking at and checking off boxes that say we have 50% women, we have 50% men, and by the way, that's great, or minority status, or person with disability status, or LGBTQ status. It's about also going to that next level and being a leader in the marketplace that helps push others out there, that helps our partners have the equipment, the development, the tools that they need in order to get the sales that they need to get, and to really make sure that you're building the right relationship with your customers. In order to achieve what we're trying to achieve, we started out when we split into two companies. So Hewlett-Packard Company, Hewlett-Packard Enterprise, not us, HP Inc., that's us. We very deliberately said we want to create the most diverse board of directors, and we want to be the most diverse company. We have a long way to go to get to the most diverse company, but we earned one of the most diverse boards in the tech industry. Full transparency, we're number 2. There's a small company, Stitch Fix, that's number 1. But as far as US-based Fortune 100 companies, we are number 1. So it's great to say that, but we don't say it just to beat ourselves in the chest. It is because we look at diversity and inclusion, and it is because that when we look at this, we bring data, we bring statistics into play. And we say, okay, so it's more than about getting that board of directors, because we've got a great board of directors, great ethnicity, race representation, but more importantly, thought process, perspective. People come from different, it's not your 62-year-old white balding CEO. It is a 42-year-old African-American woman who did a startup. And she started as COO, and she's now CEO of the company, sold it off, and is now advising to HP. There's a whole bunch of different stories like that of very uniquenesses that our board brings to the table. The interesting thing about that, though, is we're striving for a couple of things. 83% of executives agree that a diverse workforce improves companies' ability to capture and retain a diverse client base. True, we're finding that. On the orange box on the bottom, a 1% increase in representative diversity leads to a 3-point increase in market share, an increase in revenue, And we're actually seeing that play out in our product line. So think about that. If you think about what the makeup of your company is, then think about, are we growing at the pace we need to grow? And if you say, we've got some challenges here. one of the opportunities that you have is increasing diversity, because when you increase diversity, you're also bringing in creativity and innovation to think differently. Let's face it, moms think differently. Moms are problem solving. Moms are multitasking. Not to say that dads aren't either, because some dads are. But the reality is a woman's experience is such where she's trying to optimize the time and get kids here to there and to grandma's and whatever it is you're doing. Dads are innovative because you've got to work and then you've got to balance, and spend time with the family. And so you're creatively thinking about things. Not to mention bringing in ethnicities. The representation I, as an African-American woman, is very different than a European person, of course, woman, but more so a Euro-American woman. And so it's like if you can embrace all of those things and develop, and this is what we're working on at HP, is that speak up culture where all of those ideas are welcomed. You can respectfully challenge one another. You can be direct and speak up and speak out and try new things, fail fast. We hear that all the time. And so another challenge that we face, and you're facing this right here in Sweden as well, is the millennials. Those darn young people. They think different, they act different, they want more, they demand more. What the heck do we do with them? And so we're doing things. We're having boot camps where we're bringing generations together and exchanging ideas and exchanging intel. And what we see in the data point here is around 35% of millennials will say that they will leave a company to go to a company that will accept them for being who they are. Whether it's tattoos, whether it's piercings, whether it's, I can throw out all the stereotypes. They will leave a company to go to another company that is diverse in its culture. And so I wanted to share all of these things with you guys to kind of put it all out there, put it in perspective of there's so many different pieces that make up diversity and make up when you think about the success that you're looking for when it comes to sales, when it comes to relationship with your customers. It is about, let's start with diversity. And the beauty of diversity is, sometimes it's the beauty. Other times it's like, oh my gosh, it's a marathon. Diversity is a marathon, getting that right mix, because you've got to build pipelines. You've got to be able to educate. You have to transfer knowledge. You have to do all those things. So it truly is a marathon. It's not something you can snap and make it happen. What you can snap and make happen, though, is the inclusion piece. The belonging piece. You can leave here today, walk out that door and say, you know what? I've overlooked or I've overtalked that person. I didn't allow her the opportunity to say what she was thinking. I cut her off. You can also say, wow, geez, I have this thing about him. He's got his ego in the way, or, maybe I need to spend more time with and talking to him and learning more about how he's approaching his relationship with his customer or whatever it is. I'm throwing stereotypes out there so that you can really get the point. So that's something that you can have that happens right away. All it is a commitment. It is understanding what we bring to the table, the value and the role that diversity plays, and then making it happen. And that's a good thing. And it's funny because a lot of what I do day to day, I say, okay, you know what? There's an opportunity to leverage things that you see that work well. And for me, it is the athletic industry. I mean, why is it that you can see a kid in the U.S., you can see a kid when he's 3 or 5 years old as a little brother at his brother's game, wing a basketball, throw it from half court, make the shot, and then 5 years later, colleges are already looking at him and watching him and tracking him and following him. But why is it not that we don't have students that are doing phenomenal coding stuff designing robotics and IR things that are out of this world and they go unnoticed. And so leveraging from different industries helps us look at when we think about this number and we think about the pipeline and we think about the lack of diversity in technology. How do we leverage one industry into another industry in order to be successful? HP's strategy for diversity and inclusion is pretty simple. It is, and by the way, it's global. We look at global strategy, local execution. The global piece of it is around belong, innovate, and grow. Belong is about I come, I stay, I thrive, I grow, I promote, I become a manager, and all cycles again. I reach back and I bring others, I mentor others in as well. Others that don't look like me even. We develop and we have sessions where we have courageous conversations. The courageous conversations are about inviting those people to the table, their voice to the table that's not heard. And then when you do that, when people really feel like they can come and they can be all of who they are, and by the way, that means sometimes communities that perhaps doesn't align with your value system. LGBTQ plus is a community that struggles in the workplace because people overlook them, promote others over top of them. They hide, they cover. And imagine coming to work and not being able to share what you did over the weekend with your partner or whatever. And so it's very important for people to feel like they can belong and they can be all they are and bring all of their ideas and creativity and talent. And when they do that, you innovate better. You get greater innovation. You get better creativity. You get more from people. And so it's an exciting thing, but what we're doing around that is you've got to disrupt the systems. You cannot keep doing what you're doing. You absolutely, let me say it again, you cannot keep doing what you've always done and expect to get a different outcome. And so around the innovation, we've looked at how do we begin dismantling the biases that exist in our hiring processes. And it's so simple. You can read a job description and it says, we're looking for a coding ninja that is fill in the blank. And you've already lost probably every single woman and you've lost every single minority by just your first line. And so you never get people to apply because they're not attracted to that language. That's male language. And to be really honest with you, it's male-dominant language in the tech industry. And so we're looking at how do you test those words to get that language out and bring more inclusive language in. We're also reinventing standards. And so part of the reinvention around the standard piece is really looking at how do you shift mindsets. We do growth mindset thinking, we do design thinking, we do appreciative inquiry so that we stop and we listen. We listen to our partners, we listen to our customers, we listen to our employees so that we really can understand better how we can innovate and create. You guys probably have, if you've been here before, you've probably heard Andrew Bolwell from HP speak around innovation. And one of my favorite guys and a great partner. But when we start looking at some of those mega trends and different things that are happening. Now, me as a country girl, I'm like, oh, brother, I do not want mass urbanization. But the reality is we have to start planning for that. So what are the innovations that have to come as a result of that? And it is the diverse perspectives that we celebrate and that we want to bring to the table as a result of innovation. When you have people belong and they're able to innovate, then there's growth. There's growth in the individual and there's growth in the company. And that's where we're seeing right now some of the aggressive hiring that we're doing, the partnerships, and really looking at how we create return on investment for people versus product is making us successful. So that's the big strategy, and ultimately, we want to make HP a destination of choice for talented women and underrepresented groups. Guess what? That doesn't mean we don't want men it means that right now we're over-indexed in men. And so we need to build strategies that invite women, invite minorities, invite veterans, invite people with disabilities into the workplace. Make sense? Yay! Good. All right. So very quickly, some bold moves that HP has made. And I talked about reinventing the standard. So moving away from just the numbers and the data to really building innovative solutions that influence through leadership in the industry. Our General Counsel, Kim Rivera, has said, you know what? More than it matters, as much as it matters to our customer, it matters who we partner with. So we're asking all of our law firms that represent HP to be representative of HP's customer base. And guess what? Our customer base, and at the highest levels of the company. So partnership level. We want women, we want minorities, we want people to be at those levels and to be able to represent HP. We've done that a year ago, and since then, we've doubled the numbers in our partnerships as a result of it. And guess what? There was a 10% holdback involved with this. So companies, firms said, okay, HP, we'll take you up on that. If we don't meet the number, you get to hold back 10% until we get to that. And so that's what we're going through right now. It's pretty exciting. Antonio Lucia, our Chief Marketing Officer, did a similar thing around the 3% movement and the free the bid. It was around agencies, advertising agencies, comm agencies in the industry, and really pushing, because, and Antonio could say this much better than I can, he could tell you the exact profile of leadership within a marketing and communications agency, from what country they come from, what they look like, about their age, because it's just a trend. And so our goal was to kind of disrupt that a little bit in order to get HP's representative customer base reflected within the agencies that we work with. We've extended that same pressure that we're pushing out to the industry into our channel. And so, but we started by, instead of really pushing to make that happen, we've said, first, let's get our own house in order. Let's work with our partners. We have over 190,000 partners. And let's start by first giving them the tools that show how we look, how we sound, what we train on, and what we will showcase, and how that plays out from a diverse perspective. And so we're going through that training process right now. I want to share this with you.
Can I ask where you found these tips?
Is this really off of online?
Oh, here we go.
Don't wear too much perfume.
Don't wear too much makeup.
Don't be aggressive. Try to negotiate your salary.
And don't look too hot.
Don't be too chatty. Women tend to talk a lot during interviews.
You're very chatty.
No, I'm not very chatty.
Yeah, you're very.
not.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's necessarily the truth, but
A little sexist.
yeah, it seems a little.
Avoid dressing too much like a woman.
You don't go, avoid dressing too much like a man.
Women who are job hunting might want to cover gray hair.
No, oh, but it says women, so you're fine, because you're a man.
Yeah, that's right, that's right.
Wearing a wedding ring might indicate you're going to start a family soon and need time off.
Just find out you were pregnant? Best to keep it to yourself for now.
That sucks. This question sucks.
I mean, it's part of being a human being. Like, you know, women get pregnant. I think it's...
Don't let your body show that you are upset by a sexist remark or question.
How can I not be upset if there's a sexist remark or a question?
That is not okay.
I'm sorry that there's still men out there who approach the job like this. What are you going to do now?
I want to be as uniquely myself as possible.
I want to do my best to be as professional and ready and prepared with my skills honed and strong.
I think I should just do my own thing, be confident.
Absolutely.
I think I'm gonna kill it.
I know you will. You're going to change that, and you have my support to help you change that.
Oh, thanks.
Okay.
That's why at HP, we're training all hiring managers to reduce unconscious bias. HP is hiring, and talent is our only criteria.
Love you.
Love you too.
Well, that's my daughter. Who raised this girl? Must have been mommy.
What do you think of that? So we did mini campaigns. We focused on dads and daughters. We focused on different categories of people that are right now challenged to really enter into the tech industry. And we really wanted to kind of show, share, and expose what those kind of insights are that are the barriers to hiring. And then ultimately, we just wanted people to know that you're welcome at HP and that we're trying to do, yes, there's more to do, but we're trying to do the right thing to bring in the right people, to get to the right mix, to be able to win in the marketplace. So diversity at HP is a business imperative for us. We also query our employees on a regular basis. 85% feel HP values diversity, which is pretty good. I think there's room for growth. I say I was really competitive academically and athletically, and partly I had to, in order to do the athletics, I had to have the academics. It was a rule in my house. You had to have your A's. And so when I look at this, I'm like, 85%, that's kind of a B plus, right? You guys do the grading system here, right? All right, 80%, that's about a B. 76%, it's like C plus work. So there's wonderful opportunity for us to get better and to do more. But we measure this on a regular basis. And hey, if you don't measure it, what doesn't get measured doesn't get done, right? The other thing is diversity continues to play a bigger role with our customers. Our customers are demanding that we bring diversity, that we represent the communities, that we're doing work in the communities that we do business in. And I'm going to share with you in just a minute one of our big customer wins as a result of diversity and inclusion and supplier diversity coming to the table. But these are some of the companies that we're working with today, and we're finding that we're closing big deals as a result of diversity and supplier diversity. Customers are demanding that. The other thing to know is now, I'm going to apologize because these are US-based numbers. I wasn't able, I tried to do some research to get to some of your numbers economically. But it's important to know what these diverse audiences bring to the table. The value in their pocket, the dollars that they have to spend. And so when we look at women drive 70 to 80% of customer spending. We looked at what that monetizes out to over into 2020. And we looked at the LGBT community. The buying power of the global LGBT community has estimated over $3.7 trillion to trillion dollars. That's a lot of money that a community of people are making a buying decision on. And so when and it goes on and on. But the important thing to note is you should know this about your businesses. You should know the value of these audiences. Now, it's not all about the money. Well, kind of it is, but guess we can't really say that. No, it is about the value of doing the right thing, but also understanding and doing the right thing, this bottom line, right? And so these are good to know. And so if you're working on your plans for 2020, 2021, beyond, this would be a great starting point for you. I also want to talk to you just real briefly about our top 5 reasons diversity matters. So it's about diversity drives business, fuels innovation. It's definitely important to our partners. I hope you've gotten that. Attracts and retains the best employees and improves the communities that we live and we work in. The driving the business piece of it is interesting because we were recently brought into a big deal with Kaiser Permanente. in the U.S., the #1 healthcare provider. And this was a MPS, a managed print services deal, and it was a huge deal. The interesting thing is around halfway through the sales process, I had one of the sales manager call me and say, hey, right now we're behind. We're losing this deal. Here's the competitor we're behind. And here's why. I'm like, why that competitor? I mean, we've got better products, not to be boastful, but we really do have better products. We have a better reputation, better partnership, and we can, on price, we can win on this. So why them? And he said, well, here's what's happening. So he laid it out to me, told me what's happening. And I said, well, I know the chief diversity officer at Kaiser Permanente. Let me schedule some time with Dr. Copeland. I'll sit down and meet with them and see what they're doing and why they're making, this decision for this particular customer. So we did. We sat down and I said, everything he listed off as to why they were, and we can talk specifically about the bid, but about the things that they look at when they're going through this process. I said, well, here's some of the things that we're doing. Here's how we'd like to partner with you, in the future. And as you're looking at expanding in this area, here's how we can do that. We'll build STEM courses and classes, for the students in the community, in the hospitals even. They can be the center, because that's very important in some of these areas where for underrepresented kids is access to technology. And so when we finished with everything, we ended up winning the bid. It was a huge deal, like the biggest in HP history. You could probably look it up and see. But that's a really, really great example of looking at, it was more than just check the box about the demographics. It was about what are you doing for the communities that you live and work in, and how will you partner with us in order for us to be and represent the communities that we, as the partner or customer in this place, want to be in. So it fuels innovation. I talked about this. And this comes in different forms. So we have on our Boise, Idaho site, which is a big print-based site, we have employees that are a part of employee resource groups, or what we call business impact networks. And those are the employees that are part of a women's group, a Pride network, LGBTQ, multicultural, all these different communities. And they saw the need to be able to work with customers and learn the products. So these people do different things on the side. But what they wanted to do is they wanted to be able to translate in Portuguese and in Spanish, and hear and do some design thinking work with the customers. As a result of that, we designed products differently for that region in order to really meet the needs. But it took those employees saying, well, geez, I'm a Latino or Latina, and that's not what I would want. That's not how I would, kind of create this product. Some of them were simple things. And so innovation comes from everywhere within the company, definitely not at the highest levels. So these are just individual contributors that said, hey, let's work one-on-one, let's translate into their language, let's talk with them in their language, and just really roll up our sleeves and make some innovation happen. And is important to our partners, I kind of mentioned that, as well as attracts and retains employees, the best employees. And I talked about the millennials. It's so important to millennials to have people that look like them. And so some of the work that we're doing in this space is we're going out and we're reaching into communities, and we're bringing cohorts of students to come and test and do business challenges, and come in and present in front of our executive leadership teams in order to really, one, give the executive leaders exposure to people that are different, that look different than what they're working with on a day-to-day basis, but more importantly, giving the students access to the executive team in order to really push and challenge their ideas and challenge their thinking, but they're solving great problems for the company. And so as a result of that, that group of people, as we start bringing them in, they're attracting more students that look like them, more interns. We like to convert interns into full-time hires. And so we've been really successful in that area. And then I mentioned and I talked about improving the communities that we live and we work in as well. Diverse teams outperform less diverse teams by an average of 35%. I see this over and over in the Silicon Valley. A lot of small businesses, a lot of new businesses, a lot of startup businesses are started right in someone's dorm room. Bill and Dave, they started in the garage on Addison Avenue in Palo Alto, California. So you have 2 or 3 people or 4 people that come from the same type of a community. They brainstorm together and they develop a company. They're excited and they run and they get it out the door, and then it doesn't do well. It's because they never added other people that look different than them into the fold, into testing their products out. That fly is really liking me. Into testing their product or testing their idea. And they fail, and it's sad, because all it took was, when you get to that next round of venture capitalist funding, is to say, hey, let's pull in a diverse team, an advisory board. Let's pull in, just be very intentional about what you're doing. And that's what we did when we set out to create the most diverse board of directors, is we wanted intentionally people that looked, their perspectives were different, their experiences were different than ours. And this is just to show you, we do not do what we do to win awards, but because we're doing what we're doing, we are winning awards. And we're very excited about that. And it keeps driving us and pushing us. It also is a great benchmark for us because we're very transparent. And so it's good to know if we fill out a survey that we're not doing some things right when it comes to people with disabilities or the LGBT community or our women or our working moms or our working parents for that matter. And so this is a great gauge for us just to kind of see where we are and to keep kind of just pushing and moving from there. Lastly, a very dear friend of mine, I talked about Kaiser Permanente. One of the dear friends of mine is a CEO, and Dick Diani is a great guy. His quote is, if you're a leader and no one is following, you're just taking a walk. You have nobody behind you, so walk on. So what I would say to you is lead, be strong, be bold, be intentional, be very motivated, be passionate, or find those passionate people that care about this for your business in order to lead the way. And you'll find a lot of other people will be following you. That's all I have for you. I thank you.
Thank you, Lesley. Thank you.
You're so welcome.
Before you leave, I was sorry. Where is she going?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I just would like to ask you. The timing for this message is wonderful. It is. I mean, in the Swedish society right now, we're talking a lot about diversity. The industry in all, we are challenging a lot from the education side to get the girls to get into the IT infrastructure training at the universities, but also we have a lot of new immigrants in Sweden that we are thinking of how can we involve these in the, especially the IT industry with the English speaking, fast changing. Yeah. What I would like to ask you is, where did you see the strongest opposition when you started doing these initiatives within HP?
Ooh, that's a great question. I think the strongest opposition first came from men. And in large part, and that's why I'm very intentional in saying, as we say, we're trying to create HP to be a destination of choice for women and for underrepresented groups, doesn't mean that we're wiping out or kicking out the men. And I think that message wasn't, it didn't resonate with the men initially because they're thinking, hey, I'm still working, I'm still creating, I'm still innovating. And when we started really breaking it down, and I'm not able to share that here as far as the numbers, their mouths would drop open. And then we started looking at, okay, let's be real about this and let's be true to ourselves, because if we're trying to win, you have to start with yourself. Yes. And so as we embed diversity and inclusion across everything that we do, we have each person have personal goals around that. And so as a man, yours might be, I'm going to mentor a woman or a young girl in a STEM program or a minority or you name it. And so that was where I think our strongest opposition came initially.
And I'm so happy to hear that you're receiving these demands in your tenants when you're doing business, because it's good to connect dollars to these matters, because then you can see an actual change. Something that I would underline that I was very impressed with is that this large customer in this large deal did not ask you how many percent this,
nope,
yibbity yabbity, but they said, how will you partner with us in? How can we work together in that?
Yeah.
And this I would like to underline to all the customers here, because I think it's a very strong issue here when you actually point out how can we work together and ask your partner to describe that instead of give me 12% of that or 13% of this. Mm-hmm. I think that was really
It's good. A totally different conversation to be had, right?
Yeah.
Is let's solve this problem together. We're going to go out and we're going to be in this community. Here are the demographics of this community. Here's the infrastructure or lack of infrastructure. Here's what kids have access to. Whatever it is. And it leads to a very different conversation, and it has to be authentic.
Yep.
And so on the part of the partner and on the part of the brand as well.
So excellent. We have had various kinds of speaker gifts over the years. In the beginning here, we shared about that we are strong supporters of the Panzi Hospital in the Democratic Republic of Congo. And this year, we are actually giving a safe childbirth in the Panzi Hospital of the Democratic Republic of Congo.
Thank you.
So in your name. So thank you very much.
I appreciate it
Thanks
very
for having
much.
you. Thanks.
Thank you.